So, clean up the wheel well, this driver's side. It's all nice and painted now. As you can see, put the new factory ECS struts back in. Put the Megan lowering springs. I think they're 2-inch lowering springs. Put them side by side. The factory units, they're the same height, less coils. So I'm assuming when it actually sits, it'll be stiffer, but compress a bit more. I haven't put the car down yet, so hard to tell. But also replace the brake lines. You see, these aren't factory brake lines. These are reproduction brake lines in here. You know, got a new factory bent hard line here. You know, new clips. But try to save money where I can. You can buy these. You know, they're disposable parts. So aftermarket OEMs make it. The brake, painted up the brake. The calipers were red before on the car. I just quickly sprayed them again, clean them up. It's the Duplicolor, I think. New wheel bearings. Did buy new bearings. These are Ray Bestis wheel bearings. Made the mistake, not unknowingly, that these bearings didn't come with bolts. So you can see here, the bolts. I'll swing it around. It didn't come with those bolts. Now on the factory unit, they're studs. So stud actually sits in the wheel bearing here and goes through, and you put a nut on the other side. Obviously can't use those on these aftermarket ones. So again, trying to save some money, go with you know, an aftermarket part, but it ended up biting me in the ass. So I had to go and buy these bolts, and of course then I bought zinc coated bolts from Fastenal. They were like $60 because they're M12 1.25s, 55 millimeter long. So, and then once you get them gold zinc coated, the price adds up. Another things about in here, you can't get these dust shields for the front anymore. Right now you can still get the back, but the fronts you can't. So on this side I was able to get one used, cleaned it up and put it all on. I got the knuckle and everything. But on the other side I don't have one yet. So I just have mine, which has a little bit of too much corrosion on it to make it look nice like this one. So I'm still fighting with that one, figuring that one out. Did the tie rod end. You know, cleaned it up, painted everything up. The new boots on the power steering rack. I still need to get the factory clamps that you have a special tool to clamp the I don't know, the strap, I guess. Put new ball joints in. There's new ball joints, pressed them in. They weren't too bad. I ended up taking the whole lower control arm out when I painted and cleaned it up, and you know, you can see there's new bolts, new hardware in there, and new hardware underneath. I did all that. However, I had a bit of an issue with the ball joint, with the clip that holds the ball joint in. Getting that in, it was a little bit of a pain in the ass. So what I had to do is I ended up taking vice grips. I don't know if you can see this. Vice grips, and clamp. There's a little lip there. Just clamp down right on one side of your C clamp, and then you start pushing it around, and eventually just pops right in. So, and then you gotta touch it up because you end up scratching up the stuff. So that's about it for the wheel well. I'm just about to put the CV shaft in, cleaned it all up, gave it a quick paint. I just still gotta pull the tape off because I don't want to paint on the zinc coated parts, and that should go in pretty straightforward. And then I got a new strut bar from 3SX, the Radco bar, so that'll go in next because the strut bar has got to go in, and then the transfer goes in, the exhaust goes in, so it's all step by step. I still haven't figured out what to do with This I don't know if this is a factory. I ended up buying this whole knuckle used off someone. I don't know if that's an aftermarket speed sensor, but the Mitsubishi ones are like, I don't know, 300 and some odd bucks a piece or something like that. So it's just ridiculous to replace. But it's got a special clamps that clamp onto here, goes around, clamps on here, and then clamps on the wall on the inside of the wheel well right there and there, and then goes and connects into your connector. So I got to figure out how to deal with all those clamps. They don't make some of them anymore, but I got some on order, so we'll see. So here's the rotors put on, just to get a look, and the brakes. I opted to put my rotors and pads that I had on it before. They're not worn out yet. They are cross-drilled, which it's good for show, but I guess it isn't good for if you're hard on the brakes, because lots of little cracks happen in here. But these are fine. They were zinc coated at one point. They looked really great. They were looking old, so I was kind of iffy if I wanted to put them back on. So I just painted the innards of them. And of course the brakes were all kind of dirty looking, but it is what it is. So just the look, the ABS. Ended up taking the ABS sensor off of my old knuckles, cleaned it all up, painted up the brackets, and put them on. So I just bolt that on and then it connects back in. So the wheel well's all done. CV shaft is in. There is a couple things. Be careful not to get air in the boots. Like that one there, that one's full of air. So I gotta stick a screwdriver in there, let the air out. It's kind of when I was messing around with the CV shafts, putting them in, it pulls out a little bit and kind of sucks in air, I guess. So just something to keep in mind. The larger sway bar is in. This is a 3SX sway bar, larger, beefier. I ended up going with just Moog stock end links instead of their adjustable kit. I'm not sure if these are going to work. I haven't actually looked up to see if they're going to work, but it looks okay. Clearance is there, but I haven't put the car down to see how it's going to work. And if they're not adjustable or not. So that's basically all that we need now for the suspension, is to get an alignment. Same thing, nothing special. Take out the speed sensor from my factory, or from my good knuckles. This CV shaft is the original one out of the car. I just cleaned it up and painted it. I had to put a new boot on it because I ended up ripping it when I was pulling it out. So everything's in. Sway bar on this side I haven't connected yet, but it seems to fit. So still got some bolts to tighten up. The bolts are hard to get to for the sway bar. It does come with a shim to hold it out a bit. I did notice that. I'm not going to crawl under to show you, but it does rub on the power steering rack just a touch. It's just barely touching it. So I don't know if I could take it out and put the shims in, like go behind the brackets there, and if it'll pull it out just that little bit more so it's not an issue. So something I got to think about when I get back under the car. Unfortunately, the sway bar is one of those ones where everything's got to come out to put it in underneath, like the transfer case and this control arm and everything, so it's kind of a pain in the ass.
So that's basically where we're at there.